Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. I'm lucky enough today to be joined by Coach Nate Hauser from Baker University in Kansas. Welcome, Coach.
Hello, hello.
Well, let's just jump right in. You guys are an NAI men's program there in Kansas, just outside KC, right?
Yes, sir. Just
Uh,
about 10 minutes south of Lawrence.
all right, nice. Well, when it comes to recruiting, when is it that you're starting to look at players? When are they reaching out to you? When are you going to check them out?
I don't think it ever really stops. Now in the club driven market, I mean, I had a 2025 young man reach out to me this weekend, and I want to say, hey, as soon as you go through puberty, we can have another conversation here. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really stop ever.
Yeah. Well, how many inbound contacts do you think you get in a typical week?
Oh, uh, I would say because I'm long in the tooth, right? This is year 15 with the guys.
Wow.
So I would say, I'm easily getting 250 emails a week.
Wow. Well, what are some of the things you like to see in that first communication from a prospect?
One, I'd love to I'd love to see something semi-personal, right? That you've actually done a little work, that I'm not just Baker's not a check mark, on your list, that you've been to our website, like, hey coach, saw your season or something, right? Two, I'd love to know what they like to study before we get into the soccer part, right? I want to major in accounting, that kind of thing. And then, third, I'd love to get a pretty detailed resume of the last couple years. I don't need, anything from middle school or anything like that, but a resume of where you've been, who's coached you, and because usually I can swallow up those breadcrumbs and get to somebody that I know that has been around that player or that coach that can give me a little bit more background that I might not get there. And then two styles of video clip. Uh, give me 5 minutes of highlights, and then send me the whole half, so I can watch, kind of how your team plays and how you play within it, and then I can watch how somebody reacts to things within a game.
Okay. Um, you said, you like to get that coaching tree kind of just to see if it's somebody, how often are you talking to club coaches in your recruitment process?
I'd say probably 2/3 of the time I
Mhm.
am, and that's the majority of kids that from locally here, right? I know most of the club coaches within a 200-mile radius. If it's somebody from St. Louis, we're good. Omaha, we're good. Kansas City, obviously. So yeah, it's not hard. Like, that phone call is pretty easy. And then, if it's from further away, I'll first find that person who knows that person to kind of get a heads up on who I'm potentially calling and dealing with. I'm not big on cold calling, only because I've been burned a couple times where you'll talk to a coach that you don't know. And I mean, to be fair, their job is to pour honey in your ear, but it turned out to be someone who had no idea about our school, or
Right.
the teams we play against, or the mountains we got to climb. And they're all, this person would be great for your program. Like, would they? You know what I mean? Like, we've got national champions 3 of the last 4 years out of here. You're telling me your 17-year-old is ready to step on the field with 24-year-old from X country and start? Okay.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing you said brings up my next question. So, you do obviously have a lot of local based players. I mean, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri area, but you also obviously have a lot of international players, as do a bunch of the NAIA schools. So, how does recruiting internationally fit into your domestic recruiting?
I try to use that as a compliment, right? My, I guess, for better or for worse, right? Being the athletic director and the soccer coach, I get to paint the picture I want. And I want to paint what I think the world should look like. And it's everybody together. I've got guys from Senegal, guys from Bosnia, guys from England, from South America, and they're partnered with kids from Manhattan, Kansas, and Olathe, Kansas, and Lee Summit, Missouri, because I want to bring as many folks together, and I want us to have an exchange of ideas, right? I want those international kids to bring all the great things about where they're from here, and I want our kids to learn that, and then I want the other thing to happen. I want them to take something back about the Midwest and about people, here, and hopefully make the world a smaller place and a little bit more friendly.
No, I like that. Well, so switching back to the domestic side, where do you do a lot of your recruiting? What are some of the must hit tournaments, or how do camps fit in, and what's kind of that look like for you guys?
So now, I mean, I don't know if this makes me a dinosaur or I'm ahead of the curve, right? But it started way back. Muscatine used to be a place to go, right? And then it was chasing around NPL or National League events, and then it was academy games, right? Because Sporting Academy is right up the road there, and or is it the Dallas Cup, right? Or it's been a mix. I've been out to Disney, I've been out to the Surf Cup, and really it depends on where I think I have a relationship with a coach that will make it a real opportunity. And I'll give you an example. The first time I went out to Disney, right? I'm a new young coach. I'm chasing it. I'm in my 30s, and I'm like, oh, they're all coming to Baker. And none of the coaches, I wasn't talking to the guys who knew me. And so it was like I was wasting all my time, because all of them were like, oh, well, my kid's a D1 kid, or my kid's a D2 kid. I'm like, is he? Okay. And now, mind you, I played professionally for 11 years. And so when I hear people tell me that they understand the talent level, I'm like, oh, I went to Baker and somehow carved out a little space for myself. So that after getting aggravated doing that, I've been able to find friends that are in these different places. There's a couple of guys I played against that run the IMG soccer part of the academy down there, right?
Who's that?
It was Oscar Paisano. I don't know if Oscar's still there.
You know what? So I was there. I was the program manager from 14 to 16 there. So yeah,
Okay.
Oscar. Yeah, I've spent many a day with Oscar.
So we may have run into each other then, because that's where I redid my A back in 14 or 16.
Well, if it was
The last time you
14,
had to go back
if it was
and do that.
14, I would have been the guy working with US Club to reserve the rooms and make sure you had your AV and your field space and all that kind of stuff. So
We had the great Finnish Timo Liukowski was our guy, who was just, I've never seen someone have less fun doing what they do. I was like, do you ever smile or laugh? It's not my job. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But anyway, so something like that, right? That's how small the world is.
Yep.
And so when he starts talking about, well, this player, that player, DeJuan Bader was up around NC State and was working with pro teams and had his club up that way. Those are the ways that I've been able to get. Ross Ongaro, who was my coach in the All-Star game, who introduced me to our most successful player ever, Amir Didik, who ended up signing with Sporting, right? He's like, hey, here's a kid nobody wants. I think he would be great right underneath you. Like, you can teach him. And it turned out to be a perfect match, right? Like, he comes, learns leadership, and then I make that call because my head coach, Zorn, is Peter's assistant. I say, hey, I got a guy. I've never called you for a guy. I got a guy. And then it all kind of comes together, right? So I find that to be more effective than just going and sitting down somewhere.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I understand completely. And it's good because you've got that network and the time built in. It makes perfect sense. So let's talk more about the everybody's favorite topic, money, right? The scholarship side of things. So you guys carry an awfully large roster because you have the reserve side, as a lot of the teams in your conference do. So what does the overall scholarship mix look like, both from the athletic side and the academic side, specifically at Baker?
So here at Baker, we made we transitioned about 5 years ago. We used to stack money. We used to go in and um, look for academic kids, and then we'd put our average, because we work in an average system, we'd put that on top. Well, it didn't take long for our financial aid lady to realize the coaches were going after all these really smart kids and then giving them all the money. And she's like, "You guys are killing our what's supposed to be happening here." I'm like, "But they can all read. They're all graduating." And they're like, "Yeah, but we got to make some money too." And so we ended up changing it around, uh, where all of that falls under athletic aid now, and still on the average system. But I thought it was going to be harder to get those the higher end academic kids, but actually it's been the opposite. I think they feel the love, being able to get just a bigger award, whereas we were saying, say it was $8,000 on top of your 12, right? They didn't really see 20, but now that I can say 20 or 22, right? That rings differently in their ears and for their parents. And I will give you one small plug as AD. We have more than doubled our scholar athletes. We have over 150 of our athletes are now over a 3.0. All of our teams are scholar teams. So it's that average system has worked, and because the coaches don't want to do the work twice, even if it's a reserve team player, you're looking for the right fit for kids, and that's affordable. And we think we're starting to hit that sweet spot. But yeah, 45 guys. I'll just share this part. We recruit specifically for each team. When we sit with kids, we're like, "Hey, we think you're going to start here in our reserve team. We train together, but this is where you'll be." And then if we're recruiting a first team guy, we'll say, "Hey, the expectation for this award is you're going to be in the first team." Right. And then hopefully we've all made the right decision.
Right. No, makes sense. So when you're talking to coaches, when you're scouting players, what's kind of your, besides the academic piece, obviously, but what's your kind of hierarchy of things you're recruiting for, whether it's on the field specifics or off the field stuff?
I think first, and this is experience talking. I know that everybody's looking for the greatest 5'6" player in the world, but I don't really care how big or tall you are. Can you physically do the job I need you to do? So if I'm looking for a 7 or 11, can you physically do the job? We need someone who can play at pace with the ball at their feet and suffer a beating, right? Hey, if you can do that, whatever size you are, that's what I'm looking for. But for center backs, I'm not recruiting a Cannavaro. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have a 5'8" center back. I those guys that can do that never get out of wherever they're from, right? So we're looking at, adult sized guys, 6'2", 6'3" type guys. After we talk about what they can do athletically, then I'm looking at how they are mentally and emotionally. How do they react to their team, to the referee, to their coach, to the other team? What do they do when they get kicked? Is it somebody who freaks out, or is it somebody that can, bottle that up and stay focused? Those are really, really important things to me. And then I'm looking to create leaders, or at least continue to push kids that I think have that in them. And so I listen. I spend a lot of time at games listening to what they're doing as much as I am watching, because I spend a lot of time here asking people to practice talking. Like, I think they've been so over-programmed in their whole lives that none of them share their ideas. I know they've got them, right? But hey, tell us what you think. Tell us how you feel. Talk to your teammates, and you may say the wrong thing, but at least you get used to saying something, and we can at least adjust that. Fix is a harsh word, but adjust. So yeah, but that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, it's always good to be able to talk to a coach who was also an alum, because you give a double extra unique perspective. But this is the first time we've had a double alum and an athletic director. Very happy to see the soccer coach as the AD at a school, because when I was a coach, I reported my AD was the basketball coach, and he didn't know anything about soccer, so it became very difficult. But so just like your recruits, you want them to go to the website and click around. I've been to the website, clicked around, but give me the inside scoop. Tell me something about Baker that I'm not going to find on the website. Give me the awesomeness that is Baker that's kind of undercover.
The undercover thing is kind of the weirdest thing about this place, and it's how kind and genuine people are. I kid you not. I came here from California, right? Grew up in San Diego, came out here, and I will tell you, from the minute I got off the plane, I don't know if it's a Midwest thing. It's definitely not a West Coast thing all over the place, but it was like, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on?" I'm like, if someone's talking to you out there, somebody wants something from you, right? Like, here's like, "How are you doing?" And that feeling of community, yeah, everybody uses family, and I think family is something people aren't specific enough with. I think the feeling of community here, and that you are almost immediately a part of that, is something that's pretty amazing. I'd say this is also the thing that you don't get is it's almost impossible to fail here because of the 14-to-1 class ratio. We don't have any TAs teaching class. It's all professors that, people are so invested in you individually that it's impossible. And you feel that as you kind of go through this, right? And some kids push against it. They're like, and they give you room. Obviously, people give you breath to be who you're going to be. But when it comes to, hey, I need help, or this isn't going right, people are right there and they're invested in you. And I think that's the thing I can't share enough without sounding like it's my school, but it's incredible. And even as athletic director, I've been the openness to think in a different way, right? Because, right, as a soccer coach, we're wired a little bit different. But we went out, and my assistant and I engaged the faculty. We now have a faculty mentor for each athletic team, because we want them to be a part of what's going on. And it is how can I eliminate degrees of separation for these kids, right? I think one of the things that's great here is, I've sat in a room with the CEO of Fiserv, right? The guy went to Baker, was an All-American bowler, right? He's got his Milwaukee Bucks ring for winning the championship because they play in the building. Like, kids don't have to go through 9 layers to get there, right? That's a call. Frank comes to town. We're having that conversation, and it's those things that I think that Baker affords you that is special about this place. I'm not saying it's the only place it happens, but I think we're intentionally and we're purposefully trying to make that happen, which is great.
Oh, one of the words you just mentioned was support. So, what kind of support mechanisms does the school have in place to help students really balance that academic side with the athletic side? How do those things kind of live in harmony at Baker?
Well, let's see. Working with our 2 deans, right? We have our academic dean is a former student athlete here as well. She's also a virologist, and our science building's named after her. That's how awesome she is. But, she and I sit down and we talk about the semester and how to put things together. She has a couple requests from us and things she likes that would want us to attend. We do that. But then, she is very intentional about helping with schedules, right? We get all the schedules to her and the faculty. They work with our kids. It's unbelievable. We have no practices during the academic day. That's the other restraint we have here, right? So you can even practice 6 to 8:30 or after 3:30, nothing in between. But they know that, like right now, softball and baseball are traveling. They're going to miss class, and it's going to change. Soccer, we have a big trip we take at the beginning of the year. They know that. They work. We get ahead of things, and it's very proactive. We have free tutors, right? There's a whole free tutoring section here, and then we have an additional athletic, academic support team that works with our kids. And so it's almost, we try to double up on everything we do for that support for student athletes.
Well, it's amazing. You kind of mentioned it a little bit there in terms of, when practices and whatnot, but like during the season, can you kind of walk me through a typical week in terms of, when getting up, going to class, practice, the whole games, the whole 9 yards?
Yeah. Here we go. I'll give you the proper week. Sunday, we have a reserve team league that we play with 8 other schools. So our reserve team guys will play Sunday. First team guys will do a recovery day. Monday, we come in, they go to class. We'll train at 4 p.m. So for us, as an old guy, I'm almost 50 now. I hate watching people like do running, like just run. So we just jog to training. Like, so we'll meet at somewhere and we're just going to jog there and then, okay, we can just start. So we'll get to training. Monday will be a medium load. Tuesday will usually be a high load. And then we'll start to pare it down again. We'll do a little bit of learning as we go each of those days. But every day's at 4. And usually I've got the whole season written out, right? Periodize the whole thing. But then obviously, things fall apart, right? The old book by Chinua Achebe, things fall apart. So then we'll go back and we'll arrange and fix. But we try to manage that for the first part of the season. And then when we start playing Wednesday, Saturday, it's almost all maintenance, body maintenance. Kids, how do they recover? We get to midterms. All my freshmen are a complete disaster because they're freaking out, right? They're like, I'm going to fail out of college if I don't get this. So it is kind of more emotional support, than anything physical. We're just like, hey, we try to get a rhythm with our training. A couple of guys are like, Coach, we do a lot of the same thing a lot of the time. I'm like, I don't need your mind wrapped around learning something new right now. I need you to feel comfortable because we're about to climb mountains every 2 days here as we go. And hopefully, if we've done it right by the end, we will see an energy increase for the playoffs. And when we've seen that, we've had some success.
Oh,
Is that kind of what you were looking for?
Yeah, exactly. Like just, I think one of the reasons of doing these interviews is to really give kids who don't have any idea what it's like, there, and maybe answering some questions they may have. And, especially on the Division I, Division II side, as a freshman or sophomore, you're not allowed to talk to the coaches. So we're trying to get them introduced a little earlier if they have those questions. So that was perfect. You did mention one big trip at the beginning of your season. So, how much is travel typically for you guys? Or I'm guessing, your midweeks are the closer trips and your weekends are the longer trips, et cetera. But what does that look like just for you guys?
I know we benefit from having some success, right? So I can get people to come to us, but I like to take the team on the road. I listen to U.S. soccer sports psychologists say, the greatest team builder is three wins in a row, right? Okay. Well, I take that to the nth degree and I go try to find 3 really hard games. And so we'll go try to play 2 or 3 top 10 teams. So, for example, this next year we're going out to Rio Grande, right? Scott's won a couple national championships. They're perennially a top 15, top 10 team. We're going to go there, play two games away, and then we're going to come back and we host a Labor Day tournament. And we have Oklahoma Wesleyan come in, who's perennially top 5. And then we're getting Arizona Christian will come and Grace will come because I want to get as many regions. If I can hit a north and an east and then a south, and the best team generally in ours outside of our conference, we want to do that. And then, then we start doubling up, right? But that big trip, that's our bonding. I'll let the guys bring the PlayStation on. They'll play FIFA on the way there. But then we're also studying, right? When we get there, we have study hours blocked out, and we're doing all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So, well, let's talk more, kind of on that soccer side of things. How big is your staff, and what role do your fellow coaches play?
My staff is there's 4 of us total, right? There's myself. We have a director of soccer operations, Sean McAllister, young man who played for me. He was the first kid I signed when I took over the men. Left and came back and has been doing it now for quite a while. We have Nick Aguilar, another young man who played for me, went and played professionally a little bit, came back, just finished his A license. And then we have, we're fortunate to have Andy Grunenbaum, the former Sporting in Columbus goalkeeper, as our goalkeeper coach. And so between the 4 of us, Andy's kind of off on Planet Goalkeeper, whatever goes on there, right? I say, Andy, you understand goalkeepers. I don't understand you half the time, Andy. So there we go. And then Sean and Nick and I will break training up. I've been slowly giving them more of training and spending my time individually with guys in trainings, and trying to move into that model of things as Nick and Sean are a little bit more confident in their coaching voice. But then I'll take over really, as we get to the meat and bones of games. That day before the game is usually all mine. And then as we get in the playoffs, and then, I'll have an even heavier hand in training.
Well, and how would you describe your style of coaching, your team style of play, kind of the culture of the team?
I hope it's I hope it comes off as a learning environment, right? I try to stay away from the no does, and I mean, like, don't lose it, don't kick it to the keeper, don't give the ball away. Yeah, no duh, thanks. You're a genius, coach. If somebody gives the ball away, is it, hey, take 2 steps, let that one come across your body, right? Or hey, you got to hit that one, change the way you hit that ball, right? We got to clip that ball. In that way, the players aren't afraid of feedback, right? Like, they're okay. This is to help. We want to, as much as we can, have the ball, right? I mean, we were going to put it down a couple of years ago when the first COVID year. I had a couple of coaches that's like, why do you keep putting the ball down? I said, this year we're going to learn. I have a lot of new kids. We're going to learn how to do this. And you could see it last year. We were much better, right? But then the other part, because I want all things, I want to go press. We have a little sign in our office that says we need to work at a level our opponents are unwilling or unable to match for 90 minutes. And that's part of it. And I added mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? And a lot of times it's that mentally and emotionally being in control more than it is running like a dog. Because most teams haven't dealt with a consistent, organized pressure, right? If you watch teams, usually they'll press 2 or 3 players at a time. We move 8 players at a time, minimum, right? I tell the guys, I go, 8 of us aren't moving, we're not doing this right. And that's a different scene. That's something different that a lot of players have never done, but then a lot of teams have never seen, right? And so we try to create a problem and make ourselves really 11, 12, 13 players, right? Not really 11, we're already 11. I meant field players, goalkeepers, right? But I'm kidding, love goalkeepers. But it's having the ball. If we don't have it, how do we get it back as quickly as we can? And then the last part, if the guys are doing their job, is to give them the freedom now. Like, okay, you understand the organization of attack as well as defense, right? Because a lot of them are like, why do I have to be organized when I'm attacking? Like, all right, because club soccer is awesome, but like there's ways we have to be tighter, and I don't want 5-4 games, which we have too many of. Games are going to be 2-1, 1-0. Be prepared. As soon as they get that, then we free them up and we say, go at people, right? And it's telling all of our 7s, 11s, 9s, 10s, go at somebody. If you're one-on-one, go at them, have fun, do something, be special, and getting that through the team. And hopefully that puts some smiles on their faces, because we use the F word, which is fun, right? Let's have some fun what we're doing.
That's good. Well, you've told us a bunch. I don't want to take too much of your time, so I'll leave you with one last question, which is, what didn't we talk about? What did we miss? What is it that you want folks to know about either the school, the team, or anything else, or anything interesting you got for me?
Maybe I'll go this way. I think all recruits and all young players need to know that hard work is the minimum. There is no I deserve. There is no, I should get. It is everybody in your environment should be working as hard as they can. And then you talk about how technical you are and how smart you are and what you can do in the game. And I think that's a lesson that they need to take into life, right? When, as I look at society, I'm like, hey man, like, whether I agree or not with Bill Gates or an Elon Musk or whoever, right? Those guys are working. They aren't successful because they're cool and someone likes what they wear and their boots are pink. You know what I mean? It's they're putting in the work. They're brave. And I would say the other thing, I've heard a lot of people say, I hate losing more than I love winning. And while I can appreciate where that comes from, I challenge the people in my environment to think of it this way, because I think words matter. I'm willing to risk everything I have. I'll risk losing to win. Right. And I think when players really understand what I mean by that is you have to try, you have to be brave. You know what? You have to do things that are uncomfortable if you really want to be successful in anything, this game, this training, life. And I think that's what this place is about, being that brave to go be different and to be everything that you can be.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. Great words that I definitely want to share as far and wide as possible for sure. So appreciate the time. Wish you the best of luck this upcoming season. And if you ever get down here to Bradenton, give me a shout. All right, I'll check in on Oscar. I'm sure he's over there somewhere.
Hey, Matt, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And just your last one, AD soccer coach just built a soccer specific field over here. That's so kids know soccer's number one. Don't tell my football team. There we go.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Matt.